All right, so I've had some people talk about influential points, and quite frankly, College Board has not been very good about putting definitions out on this. However, this year they released a video on how they were defining it. So consequently, we're going to share it with you, and next year it'll be in the note spiral. All right, so this year it's not in the note spiral, but it will be next year. So in influential points, you have three types. You have high leverage points, you have outliers, and you have the combination. So we're going to talk about high leverage points. A high leverage point means we have a point that's way, way far away from the other data. So ignore those 2 points initially, pretend like they weren't there. And in the x direction, we went way this way. And actually, we're talking about distance from the mean. Now, I don't know where the mean is, but I'm going to guess it's somewhere in there between or right about here. Well, this point is a long, long way. Because it's a long, long way, it has a high leverage effect. And if you notice, it affected the slope and it affected the y-intercept pretty substantially. Okay? So high leverage points can impact it, all right? They can impact it, and they are it just means that they're very far away from the mean. That's different than an outlier. The way they're defining an outlier is a point with a high residual. Well, I look at this, and this point has a very high residual from my original line. This one has a very high residual. This one is positive. This is negative. If they are close to the mean or somewhat centered on the mean, they don't have a massive impact on the line. Yeah, they'll shift it up or down. It's going to change it's going to change where it's located a little bit. But what it'll mess up substantially is all the residuals. Because without this point, my residuals are really pretty small. They weren't too bad. But with this point, my line shifted and my residuals got huge. And if you increase your residuals, and write this down, if you increase your residuals, your R, your correlation, and your coefficient of determination, so R and R squared, are going to get smaller. All right, residuals increase, the correlation decreases, okay? And then finally, you have the combination. And the combination means not only do we have a high residual point, so this is we extended this line, this is a very high residual point. So not only do we have a big outlier, but we also have a high leverage point. So basically the correlation goes away, gets really bad, gets really small, gets closer to zero. The correlation gets closer to zero, and the slope and the y-intercept shift. The slope and the y-intercept will shift. So these are the definitions you need to know for that. And I'm really happy that this year they actually released something to define that for us.